Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another epic episode of BrickCityBlockade.com podcast network, talking far, far away. And on this episode, let's welcome back Mr. Scott Inch. I know the people are getting tired of hearing my voice with these interviews. Scott Inch is back on the show. We got some cool stuff to talk. Scott, how's it going, my friend? It's been a long time, it seems like.
Yeah, it's been about 2, 3 weeks since we last did an episode, but I've been a very busy man, as you know, Robin.
You've been a busy man for sure. You've been hightailing it with all these people. You've had some time to relax, some time to chill, which has been awesome. And usually, when we're chilling and we find ourselves in that kind of condition, there's always Star Wars news that ends up breaking when we come back from it.
Yeah,
And this time around, it just came out not that long ago. Mr. Anthony Bresnikan himself, he has been not allowing me to sleep at night because we're getting so much Last Jedi stuff now, and I think there's an ulterior purpose to it. But curious to hear your thoughts on this, Scott, because we got some really great images from this upcoming EW article surrounding the Last Jedi.
yeah, we got, how many do we get? About 10? I'd probably
Ooh.
say we got about 10 images, some really nice ones. I know you guys have been with Chewie and the Porgs. Uh, that's adorable, but as I said, they're not appealing to me. They're not drawing me in, the Porgs, so that might change over the next few months, but we'll wait and see. Yeah, we've got Luke and Ray together. We've got the covers, one with Luke, one with Ray, Kylo Ren, the guards, which I know you love. They look amazing. I thought we'd get one with Snoke when the pictures started coming out. They came out probably Thursday. Was it Thursday? No, was it
It
Tuesday,
was either
Wednesday?
Wednesday or Thursday that they came out.
Yeah, and I think it was like afternoon over here when they came out. So I was like, oh my God. So yeah, because they come out first thing in the morning over there, but we're like, oh, middle afternoon here, they all are.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's quite a lot of pictures and wee hints. Benicio del Toro's character, Morgide, and we're starting to see that this, everybody's like, it's Ezra, but it seems it's not Ezra. He's kind of like Lando. He's kind of like, I don't care who's First Order Resistance. I'm only here to, be for myself, not for you guys.
Yeah, there's so many different added elements now to this film that we're starting to see play out because Anthony Bresnikan and Entertainment Weekly did such a good job of not only selecting pictures that I think kind of lead the fans down the right
Mm.
path as we head towards December, but they're not spoiling too much. And that's what I love about this is that they just kind of add an extra level to the trailer that we received and a lot of the teaser stuff that we've been seeing. And of course, with Force Friday coming up right around the corner, it's what a better time to put out these pictures to get people excited about not only the action figures, but for the characters that we're going to see released as toys come Force Friday. And you bring up an interesting point, Scott, and I actually hadn't thought about this until just now, is that we did see the Praetorian Guards, which I am absolutely in love with. I love these, the design of them. You guys can go and read Augustus Snoke over on the BrickCityBlockade.com page concerning Praetorian Guards and my theory on them. But you're right. There was no presence of Snoke within those images because these are Snoke's guards.
Mm.
The only thing that I've seen floating around, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, is that the Praetorian Guards, if you look at the background that they're in, we saw this in the kind of the behind the scenes trailer, is that it looked to be some kind of throne room. And a lot of people have been talking about this. When The Force Awakens came out, of course, we got the Art of the Force Awakens book. And there were some concept images there that showed a throne room. Curious to hear your thoughts on this, Scott. Do you believe that we're going to see this kind of throne room coming around the corner? Because even the toy leak stuff that we've been seeing have been queuing at the Victor throne room and all this cool stuff. I think it'd be just an awesome added element to where these Praetorian Guards are heading forward and where we might see Snoke come into the marketing for this.
I think we are going to see the throne room because if you recall Force Awakens, when Hux is saying, when Starkiller Base is about to explode, Hux is pretty much going to see Snoke, and Snoke saying, bring Kylo Ren to me. So it says we're getting that next part where we're actually going to see the Praetorian Guards with standing side next to Snoke. So yeah, I think we're definitely going to see that throne room. and there was a lot of confusion over. We were told it was going to be a puppet, and now we're getting told it's mocap plus all the nice work that Andy Serkis did. If you've seen Planet of the recent Planet of the Apes movies, actually all of them, and Lord of the Rings, you know he's fantastic in doing the mocap stuff. So yeah, I'm glad we're going to get that. We're going to get to see Snoke, not like a 6-foot giant standing in hologram down like that. We're actually going to see him. The question is, how high is it? It's not going to be some like, you know, giant that Luke's going to go, oh no, I need to fight that. Or is he actually just going to be like a normal size guy, size Kylo?
Yeah, and that's going to be something I think we'll see play out when it comes to later on down the road here as we get closer and closer. But I think you're right. It's going to be fascinating to see how they deal with this character and the motion capture piece of creating that scale. That scale can be really tough for filmmakers because if it's not done properly, it can really throw off a film. And also the actors themselves, you'll notice some facial reaction to it. Like the way that they're looking up at him or looking at him is just not as authentic as it would be a puppeteer or something else. That's something, you know, film critiquey stuff. You know all about that, Scott. You know, just looking at the certain aspects of a film and what they bring out. Now, one of the pictures that fascinates me the most, and I think we could break this thing down second by second here, is the Rey and Luke shot where Rey is looking at Luke in the doorway. That is quite a picture because it says a lot about where Rey and Luke are heading into this film, whether it's at the beginning or whether it's at the middle. There's that generational separation there. You have Rey who's new to the Force and everything, and then you have like this wise mentor who's standing at the door waiting for Rey to come to him to seek out the knowledge. That's how I kind of see it. Scott, what's your interpretation on it?
It's basically telling her there's no room at the inn. Bugger off.
I like that version.
Peter, you're not welcome here anymore. So yeah, basically, I quite like that picture. That's one of my favourite pictures because Luke's finally changed clothes, so he's not wearing the same clothes that he seems to have worn for the last 5 years. If you've read Bloodline, you'll understand where the 5-year gap comes in from. So yeah, there's some saying that could be the doorway into like the Jedi books that he keeps, or is it basically saying I will train you? I mean, how far in the movie is this? Is this the first 20 minutes, this first half hour, where he's standing there trying to pretty much say, okay, I'll train you, here's how we're going to do it. I'm not training you because I know what happened the last time. I mean, that's a possibility, but also if you've read Mark Hamill's comments and he's been putting on Twitter, don't look at any more of the promotion material. But we're Star Wars fans, we're going to want to look at promotion material coming. Because once September hits, we're going to get so much more stuff, like tons and tons of stuff. If you've seen the last 2 films that have come out, that's how it's worked. But yeah, he says that he's reluctant to do this again because Kylo Ren basically did what he did. And there's another point that I'm going to make, we'll discuss later on once we pass this, but so that's probably why he's just like, I'm not wanting to do this because I know what happened the last time, but okay, let's do this. You know, it's just, I don't know where the interaction's going to go, but I just like the fact, I like that picture. She's just kind of like, please train me. And he's like, no.
Yeah, it's almost, and I don't want to make an heir apparent comment based on the prequels necessarily, but it's almost like that Anakin to Obi-Wan feel like, listen, you know, I'm stuck in this situation. I just need a little bit extra guidance on how to do this properly and everything. And then Luke is like, well, I've seen this play out with my father. I've seen this play out with Kylo Ren. And it's like he's putting up the shield for a second for once, you know, something that Obi-Wan didn't do necessarily, and say, whoa, hold on a second before I go any further. And I think that's probably part of the training that he's been in outside of the fact. Some of the stuff that he's been doing, you know, obviously in Octu or wherever else he's been in the galaxy, in his training to become obviously this ultimate Jedi master. I can imagine. I don't see him sitting there as just the average guy at home ready to watch some cops on TV with a thing of popcorn. No, this guy, he's been studying up on his Jedi mastery. Obviously, he has those books, which I'm glad you bring up, because there is some great stuff in there, I'm sure, that we're going to dig into when we get closer and closer. We'll get to know what those are. But specifically, Scott, there's such a connection here. And one of the other smaller pieces, Anthony Breznican did a great job. He gave us the pictures first, and then he said, guess what? We're going to break down the magazine here. And again, where I stayed up at night reading each of these articles and probably breaking it down too far, he released them in order of where he felt the significance of them were. And as we move closer and closer to Force Friday, I'm sure we're going to start seeing, well, here's a little bit of stuff about Snoke. Here's a little bit more stuff about this and that before that article, the big magazine itself comes out. Yeah. And the one that fascinated me the most, and the headline that fascinated me the most, is, of course, the other person standing in that face-to-face situation, which is Rey. And the article was titled, "We Get to Find Out More About Her Family History," which is something we have not heard yet coming out of The Force Awakens. It was like, who's my family? Do I have a family? That's a very strong headline, Scott. What is her family history?
It's a good question. I don't think it's tied to anybody in the Force, any of the current characters. I'm leaning towards it not being part of Kenobi, not being part of Skywalker. I don't think she's any of that. I think this is a new character, so I would love it to connect into the books. I would love it to connect into Empire's End. Something there. Well, Empire's End, Aftermath Trilogy, something there. And if they connected to that, that would definitely springboard it a wee bit, because Jakku's in that bit quite a lot. I mean, you and I have read those books, and Jakku plays a heavy part, especially in Empire's End. We know she was on Jakku. It's a different tricky one. Who are her parents? That's one where I want to be surprised, to be honest. I'd like it not to be part of any of the characters we've had before. I would like it, and I don't want it to be that she was made out of midichlorians. I don't want that. Yeah, I just want it to be something new, something that'll go, whoa, we did not see that coming. Unless she's connected to Snoke, and that would be an interesting twist. Her parents was actually Snoke. I don't know, but hopefully it's something brand new, something that's a wee bit of a twist, something that we haven't seen before. And then we were sitting there in the cinema on 15th of December going, that's pretty cool how Rian Johnson's done that. He's twisted it. It's something different.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say a pretty bold comment, because, and I'm going to be very clear about it, because I don't want people to misinterpret it in any way, because I think this is really important. Mm-hmm. You and I here on Talkin' Far Far Away, we love to talk about the novels. We love to talk about their connection to the canon. We do have yet to see the true connection between the novels and the cinematic universe. They've been giving us backstory, but they have not been giving us a true connection to necessarily the characters that we're seeing play out right now. They're teasing at it. You bring up an awesome point, and I think that it's something that Rian Johnson could do and could separate himself from the directors going forward, and also kind of create this new style of directing. And that's from building off the canon from the books. And it's something that you and I really, when we started talking Far, Far Away, is something that we wanted to do. We wanted to talk about how could they do this? How could we get from point A of this stuff showing up in novels to point B, connecting to it cinematically and creating this larger discussion? If Rian Johnson is able to take Rey's story and connect it to Empire's End, or connect it somewhere, maybe it's farther on in Lost Stars somewhere. I don't know. Maybe there's something even within that novel. If he's able to do that, he has then revolutionized these Star Wars films heading forward, and has then given the canon novels themselves an extra level of gravitas and an extra level of credibility in terms of what is their message, What are they trying to tell us? And are these stories truly connected to the Star Wars that we want to see play out heading forward? I know it's a bold statement to come out and say that, but I think if he's able to do it successfully, and the key word is successfully, because we know that he has been working directly with Jason Fry, who is doing the Star Wars The Last Jedi novel, and he's working a lot with a lot of these other people, like Christy Golden and stuff, and all these other people who are involved in the Star Wars story. It's fascinating to see if there is that connection, because again, we are therefore revolutionizing the canon going forward, and then people aren't asking the question anymore, why should I read this book? It has nothing to do with the films. It has nothing to do, because I have heard that, Scott. I don't know if you've heard that, but from people who are like, this isn't doing much for me because there's no movie connection for it. But I think at a point it's like, man, if somebody could just grasp onto that and make a big connection going forward, I think we could see something truly special happen.
Yeah, I mean, Catalyst never really, I mean, we got Catalyst, which was a prequel to Rogue One, but didn't really, unless you watched Rogue One and you saw Saw and you're like, oh, well, I know how that works. Even with Rebel Rising, you kind of get that it was said in the movie first, then it went back and told you in the book. So again, that's doing it the other way. What you're talking about is the other way into the movies. Bloodline, I think, is going to be the one that does it, because it's been done. It came out last April, April last year. They were filming episode 8, so Claudia Gray had all that done. She had the book done. We all know that Rian Johnson was involved in that in some way. We don't know how much he was involved in, but we know it had a lot of politics. So I believe that Bloodline, well, because it's the closest Star Wars book that's closest to the take away Before the Awakening, take away the Paul Dameron comic, take away the Weapon of Jedi, Smuggler's Run, and Moving Target, because they've all got tiny little bits that lead into The Force Awakens. It is Bloodline that's the bigger novels. It's the one that everybody reads, and that book will, I hope, fingers crossed, is the one that will have a character that's in that will be in Last Jedi. And then people will go, I don't know that character. Well, go and read Bloodline. Understand it. Because, yeah, I mean, it's one of these things that haven't really connected these books or comics, really. Comics a bit different because it's all taking place in the same kind of era, like episode 4. That it's the books really need to tie into the movies, and because otherwise we're going to end up thinking we're wasting our time reading the canon novels when they're not actually connected to the movies.
You are 100% on cue with that statement. And don't think, listeners, that Scott and I are trying to force you to read these novels, because not only you don't have to read them, you can also get them on audiobook, and you can enjoy them in very different ways. And we're not forcing you to read these books. It's just at some point there is going to be this, not necessarily overlap, but this crossover where these books are going to start playing into these films at some point. You're going to start seeing it. And I hopefully it's Rian Johnson is the one that's going to do it, because what a better time than now. And the connection with Bloodline, Scott, that you bring up, there's just so many different elements of, yes, this is going to happen, that you look at it and you don't doubt it anymore. You just don't doubt it, because there's just so much involvement, and there's just so much, a higher level, really, I guess you could say, to what they're trying to do here. So again, Scott and I are not trying to force you to read these books. We're not trying to get you to like say the novels are it, the films are nothing. No, that's not it at all. The novels are an extra level of fandom. They're something that you can get into and something that you can enjoy. And as we get closer to The Last Jedi, these novels are going to be really cool things that you can kind of just read into and look at different things. Even if it's the Before the Awakening stuff, there's some cool tidbits in there that just add an extra level to these characters, and then a little bit more to their backstory at the same time. But specifically, Scott, when it comes to these Entertainment Weekly stuff, and we talk about all these great pictures and everything. We got to bring up Mr. Kylo Ren himself. I think we have to bring him up because, and I know in the past episodes we've kind of been talking about specifically where do we think Kylo Ren's going to be heading here, heading into The Last Jedi. Do we think that the Vader-esque attitude is going to start coming out? And it's just, he is probably one of the most perplexing characters. And I think his article, Anthony Bresnikan, specifically around Kylo Ren and the dark side specifically here, and Snoke and everything, he does have this confused attitude about himself that he really cannot identify who he is as a person. That call to the light, the call to the dark at the same time. There's going to be some battling here, I feel, with Kylo Ren heading into this film.
Yeah, but I feel he's done the one thing that all Star Wars fans hate. He killed Han Solo. That was one way of him getting past the. There's a car. So he passed he was trying to get past, because that was what was holding him back, the light and the dark and the Force Awakens. And then when he went into then when he killed Han, spoilers if you haven't seen The Force Awakens, I don't know why you listened to us then if you haven't watched. Yeah. So yeah. But I feel he will be totally dark side in this movie. I feel he's heading towards that, unless Leia or Luke can bring him back. And it's quite hard because we don't have Carrie Fisher anymore. So obviously we know that Episode 9 has been totally rewritten because of that. Mm-hmm. I think Luke will be the one to bring him back because it was Luke that lost him. So Luke will be the one to kind of bring him back if that's possible. So yeah, and also apparently he's the chosen one. Yeah, that was quite interesting. Does he see himself as that? Is that the kind of thing that he's going to be like Vader? Because we know how much he loves his grandfather. He never met him, but he's got such Force Awakens again. I will finish what you started. That says it all, really. He's so obsessed with Vader that he looks more like Vader. And in the pictures we see, I think he'll be more dark throughout this movie than he will be towards the light.
I can totally see where you're coming from that on, Scott. It seems like with this Entertainment Weekly article, and I believe the words that Bresnikan used specifically to describe Kylo Ren was that I can't remember if it was vulnerable in the sense of he's now done this, he's now killed Han Solo, and he's now kind of started his journey to the dark side, and that he kind of didn't know what to do after that point. It's like, wow, I actually did what Snoke asked me to do, and it's like, what do I do with it now? Like, now I have to go back to Snoke and I have to continue my training and everything. Where's this going to lead me now? What is with Anakin, what is the consequence that I have to now pay for the actions that I've taken? And it's going to be fascinating to see how that character plays out, because, and it's weird because I'm not so sure, and I'm not 100% sure that we're going to see any more reference necessarily between Kylo Ren and his father Han Solo. I think now that he's completed that section, I think that there's going to be this underlining thing here heading into The Last Jedi, just basically off of what I've read here. Curious to hear your thoughts on this. But based off of this Entertainment Weekly article and everything about Kylo Ren, that Snoke might even use Han Solo's death as a motivation. If he keeps mentioning, this is his father. This is somebody who he still had a connection to in some way. And to now have him gone, he's going to use that as a motivator. Like, stop talking about my father. Stop it. Almost like this very intense training. I don't know, but there's something there, I think.
Yeah, because he still used that as a kind of like a kind of torture device to say, you killed your father. What does that make you? And because Snoke, I mean, Snoke's been eyeing on Kylo Ren since he was. That's another thing. It's like we're going to get a wee bit more backstory of Snoke as well. How he came in contact with Han and Leia. Again, it could all be tied to bloodline. Who knows? Or even before that. But yeah, I think Snoke will use his vulnerable and his actions towards what he did to Han to torture Kylo or Ben to make him go even further to the dark side. He will torture him. He will. It's just like what Palpatine did with Anakin back in those days, back in the prequels. He manipulated him, but he didn't do it like the way that we're thinking that Snoke's going to do it. He's going to manipulate. He's going to torture him because that's what the master does to the apprentice. He tortures him. I mean, right now in the Darth Maul series, Palpatine did the very same thing to Maul. He tortured him. He kind of blackmailed him. He kind of said he was weak, and I think that's the kind of torture that Kylo Ren's going to go with Snoke.
That seems to be the essence of the dark side, and if the reports are true, like Boyega and Daisy Ridley have been talking about, that this film is going to be dark, and I think we kind of see that with these images from Entertainment Weekly. We see the grittiness, and that's the one thing. These images are very different than past images we've seen, even with the prequels and then even with the original trilogy stuff. I mean, you really want to go back. That was very lighthearted. A lot of those images weren't really dark and very, and it's hard to say because those images were produced in the 70s and we didn't really get to see those necessarily in person. We are youngsters here at Talkin' Far, Far Away, I guess you could say. But at the same time, it's like, there is a gritty tone to this that I think Rian Johnson's going to carry out throughout it, that where we even see the Resistance at times with a grittier look, that just makes the dark side that even darker in this film if the Resistance is that dark. You know what I mean? There's this added level now that the Resistance is dark, but the dark side is darker.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see this being like an Empire Strikes Back movie. I see this being the Dark Knight kind of movie, because as much as the Dark Knight was meant to have like Harvey Dent as the light, he was still dark in that movie. So I feel like, yeah, I think you're 100% right there. The Resistance is going to be dark because they're fractured. They have no kind of like center control because of the New Republic's been destroyed, or what's left of the New Republic. I think there's some fractures of it. Not just the entire Hosnian price system was gone, taking everybody with it. I think there are fractures out there. But yeah, I think we're going to see a Resistance that's striving to survive because they're very limited on resources. So yeah, I think we're going to definitely see a dark Resistance, hopefully leading into a bright Resistance heading into episode 9.
And that would kind of fit the tone of the middle film, you know, not necessarily just with Star Wars, but with films in general. When you have a trilogy of them, that the first one sets the tone, the second one's a little bit darker, gets these characters developed, gets a little bit more of the story going, and then the third one's on a much lighter tone, and we just get to see that final battle, and we get to see a lot of those actions come out in many different ways. It seems to be just a film format. And it's kind of nice that we're getting teased that way, that, you know, this is Star Wars and everybody's talking about, yeah, it could be Empire Strikes Back again. No, it's just following a very basic film format on how to do a trilogy of films and how to keep fans also interested in these films. Because coming out of Force Awakens, if they were going to, sorry to say it, put the Disney ears back on this film again, I would be like, wow, they're missing the boat on this because it should be a little bit darker. But we won't know until we, of course, see this film and we get some more pictures. Scott, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. And I think where I do love the Praetorian Guards, and I do like a lot of the character images like DJ and, of course, Rose and Finn that we got in these pictures, they're really nice to have. I think they missed the boat on something. I do really think that they missed the boat on something when it comes to the dark side. And I think that's the Knights of Ren. And I know we'll see them down the road, but I think if you would have wanted to add a little extra something in there. Maybe there will be a surprise. Maybe they didn't post something about the Knights of Ren in online that they're going to put in the magazine itself. I don't know, but I think it would have been really nice to see maybe even a shot of Kylo Ren with one of the Knights of Ren members somewhere. It would have been really cool to say, yeah, okay, this is what we've been kind of teased at in The Force Awakens. I don't know your thoughts on that. I think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that.
I don't think so. I think they don't want to spoil the movie. They don't want to put all their cards on the table and show you everything. They want to keep the cards close to the chest. They want to, because if we start getting so much stuff like that right now, we would end up piecing it all together so quickly. I mean, that's what was great about Force Awakens. None of us knew what the story was until we went into the movie. We kind of got the gist of it, but we didn't know until we went into it. Like, nobody, some people might have, but nobody knew that it was Rey that was going to get that lightsabers, be the actual, because we were all told Finn holding the lightsaber in the D23 poster 2 years ago, and we were like, it's Finn, he's the force wielder. It was Rey, and they kept that pretty quiet. It was all under wraps, and they kept Snoke quite under wraps as well. So let's be fair there. But I think the Knights of Ren will show up. I think they'll be where Snoke is, because the Praetorian Guards might be for Snoke, but you don't put all your cards on Starkiller Base. Well, we all know how that ended as well. I think they'll be kept where Snoke is, because that's another level of security for Snoke. Because if someone found Snoke, they would go right after him. So we will see more, and we'll see how Kylo Ren treats them. Or unless Ryan George is just completely forgetting about them and kind of going, no, let's not hurt them. But then Kylo Ren would be pointless, and they would be totally pointless. So yeah, I think they will be in the movie, but we have to be earned to see that Rey, to see them. We have to be rewarded for our patience.
I thought that was a pretty good advertisement for my article on brickcityblockade.com. I don't know. I think that was my ulterior purpose. So you guys to go over there and read it, because there is a lot of stuff in my latest article. I know, Scott, that you've read it, because and it wasn't necessarily, I just want to give a quick breakdown on it for people who haven't read it yet specifically, is that you guys know I love the Praetorian Guards, and I love what they are bringing to this universe. And the pictures, of course, in Entertainment Weekly article do such a great job of adding that extra level to them. But why I bring up the Knights of Ren thing, Scott, and why I feel that there is this connection somewhere, is that the Praetorian Guards and the Knights of Ren are closer than we think. Mm-hmm. Their role with Snoke and with Kylo Ren is closer than we think. And that maybe there's a connection. That's why we talked about the novel thing earlier, is because I think there is that connection there somewhere that brings everything into this nice little basket of Star Wars goodness. And put that under your Easter list for next year. A basket of Star Wars goodness with the eggs and the whole thing. Easter Bunny comes hopping along. I just lost my train of thought on that. But Scott, there is just so much that could happen with this film, and I think Entertainment Weekly did such a good job, and specifically Anthony Breznican, as much as the Brez is driving me nuts, did such a good job of getting us ready for Forest Friday. And like you said it beautifully, September is the month of promotional Last Jedi stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get so much after, because once we see the figures, I mean, we've already seen a tiny tease of it with Luke and Rey at San Diego Comic-Con. So we're going to see some more. We've seen the packaging, we know what that's like. But yeah, once we hit September, we are going to get that other trailer. I thought there'd be one out now, because there's already been a trailer out, and this time last year we got one for Rogue One. But I think this is a bit different. That standalone movies might work differently from the saga movies promotion. I'm going that way. But I think September 1st or 4th, I can't remember, I think it's September 1st. After that, we're going to get so much stuff that we're not going to be able to keep up with that.
You're gonna have to be loaded up on lattes. You're gonna have to be loaded up on caffeine just to kind of keep ourselves up and going with all the Star Wars stuff, because there's just gonna be so much. And I think you guys definitely have to head on over to all the Brick City Blockade platforms for social media for everything. We got a lot of stuff we got to talk about coming up on across all the different shows and everything. Our live Force Friday coverage, everything. You can head on over there for that. So much great stuff with this Entertainment Weekly stuff, Scott. Let me get your final thoughts on this. Is there one image to you that you would write home to about? Because I have mine, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. But which image really sticks with you heading into this massive, massive marketing?
It's definitely the Ray and Luke one, the standing in what looks like the doorway, as we spoke about earlier. That's the one that's sticking with me because that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody else, but I want to see how damaged Luke is dealing with Ray, and how Ray, who has heard so much about Luke Skywalker, realizing this is not the same guy who has so much hope and adventure, farm boy, in the original trilogy, and she's got that kind of hope, adventure about her. So yeah, it's that picture, and it just looks like you just get from the impression he doesn't want to do this again, but she's going to pull him out of it. So,
the one that sticks out to me the most, and I think it's not one of the main images, I kind of teased it before, is the Finn and Rose picture that we got from Entertainment Weekly of them together. Because yes, we have the story of Rey, and yes, we have the story of Luke, but I always found, especially when it came to Return of the Jedi, when you had Luke's journey, and then you had what's going on Endor, and then you had Lando, what he was doing out in the I guess you can say out in the galaxy outside of the Death Star too, trying to lead Admiral Akbar into the destruction of the second Death Star and everything. I love those side stories because there's just so much development, and they all play hand in hand, where one is making action and doing things in this one spot, the other one is equally trying to complete a mission. And where the novels kind of do this with their interludes and everything, and I know you and I have talked about those interludes, Scott, that it's like, please stop. I wanted to continue the other story. But it does give some nice backstory to what's going on outside of the main point. And I think Finn and Rose, and probably Poe Dameron to a certain extent, that story fascinates me the most, because this is a brand new character to this film and to the Star Wars universe. And there's just so much backstory that we're going to have to get about her. Obviously, we're going to get a novel after Force Friday concerning the squadron that she's associated with within the Resistance. And I think that's great. But how that relationship plays out between everything that Finn has been through, which the Entertainment Weekly article breaks down, and this newer person who sees Finn as this very, sorry to say it, almost like a Han Solo type figure, as the article lays out, that he is this guy who totally went up against the First Order, went against everything that he believed in, and is finally like the hoorah kind of guy for the Resistance. That's the one that sticks out to me the most heading forward.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm looking forward to seeing. That's another one I'm looking forward to seeing, is Rose and Finn, and how they are kind of going to go on this mission. And it's always nice to bring a new character into the sequel, because we've had it before in the movies. We had it with Lando in Empire Strikes Back, new character, and an impact that he made on it, because he's one of the more memorable ones. Also, it's Billy Dee Williams, so it kind of made sense.
Yep.
But yeah, so Kelly Marie Tran?
Yeah. Yep.
The name rings a bell. I can't remember what I've seen her in a few other things. I can't remember what I've seen her in, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how she's going to play her part in this overall Resistance. And also, one more thing is it was in the Entertainment Weekly, is how Leia is setting up Poe to be kind of like the Resistance leader if anything was to happen to her. I will say, the more you read the Poe Dameron comic, the more I could see it, because that I feel that's more connected. But you have to read the comic to understand why.
Like I tease the article, you tease the canon. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Make sure you definitely read the Poe Dameron comic. Add it to your pull list at your local comic book shop. Support them. Those pull lists are the ones that keep them going and keep the fans with the content. All right, Mr. Scott Inch. I haven't done this a while. It kind of seems like might be a little rusty on this. It's that part of the show. It's a little thing we like to call.
Oh wait, I can't remember now. Oh yes, I do. Plug time.
Oh, right. Yes. I almost forgot about it too. It's a thing we like to call plug time. Mr. Scott Inch, where can the good people find you across social media?
That's been a while since I've said this. Let me get my marbles. It's been a long couple of weeks. It's Scottish Facebook or Scottish 85 on Twitter. To
Very
remember
well.
that. I have to think about that.
I love it. I love it. You guys have heard me do this spiel quite a few times in our interviews. You guys can follow me over on Twitter at Mr. Vote Tweets. Make sure to head on over to Instagram. Follow me at The Official Vote. Please make sure to head on over to BrickCityBlockade.com podcast network, the website for everything happening in the galaxy far, far away. Please subscribe and most importantly, rate and comment on iTunes. The content is built around the rate and comments. We want to know what you guys are thinking, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Does Mr. Vote here have to leave the show because he keeps ranting about how awesome his article is? That does need to end, and I need to hear your comments on that. So please make sure to head on over there, do that for us, because we love reading your comments, and we love the rating system because it's what engages us with you, the fans, and brings the epic guests on. And also make sure to please follow everybody here at the network, Mr. Scott Inch, Jared Chilson, who I'm going to be doing the Force Friday preview with, Brian Fontaine, Mr. Christopher James Letty, my co-host on the home show, Mr. Sean Me Show, and our brand new member, Miss Katie McFarland. Thank you so much and welcome to the network. We are so glad to have you on. All right, Scott, another great episode of Talking Far, Far Away. And as we always say here on the network, thanks for listening. And may the force be with you.
Always.